Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Seattle Speed, coming to you today with a relatively quick, I think, vlog. Wanted to start it out here in the downtown just because it's so much fun. And we'll go ahead and head out of here. I'm planning to talk about my experiences riding in the Seattle metro area. Not just riding stuff in general, as much as the things that I find to be more or less, let's say, like Seattle local, right? Stuff that I've noticed that is more Seattle than it is just riding in general. All right, well, finally getting out of there. Beautiful, beautiful view today. Just want to talk to y'all a little bit about some of the things I've noticed about Seattle, and specifically about Seattle riding. You know, as someone who's ridden in the Seattle area quite a bit, but also ridden elsewhere, you know, what are the things that I maybe look out for? Or what are the things that I pay more attention to? Or some of the nicer things, you know, things that make it easier or harder to ride. That's what I'm going to talk to you today about. So, let's get to the stop sign. And look, obviously, like, riding in Seattle, in the Seattle area, is still just, it's riding, right? Like, it's not like wildly different per se than riding like somewhere else. But there definitely are things about riding in Seattle which I think are a little bit unique to Seattle, or maybe just like more prevalent in Seattle. So, number one thing I think you should know about Seattle, and maybe the West Coast a little bit more in general, is there is a lot of tech in cars. And I've recently become aware, thanks to a certain YouTuber, of the absolute insane amounts of risk that apparently you as a motorcyclist are in when you're around a Tesla or some of these other cars, maybe more or less, that have, you know, some pretty fancy self-driving features. So it seems like Teslas are killing motorcyclists at a sort of alarming rate. You know, just not detecting motorcyclists. I don't know the whole story of every single time this has happened, but you know, I'm imagining it's turning out in front of. You know, I've heard examples of where it's not stopping when a motorcyclist is slowing down or stopping. The self-driving car doesn't see you, and it just plows right into you, and it's game over. That's a little scary as an idea, to think that there are people out there, you know, riding around in these cars that they think can drive themselves, that will just kind of, without warning, just kill you. Just run right into you, almost in a sort of more unpredictable way than a human, right? Because, I mean that, right? Because with a human, if they're like texting while driving, you can tell pretty easily, right? You can say, oh, look at that car. You know, that car's swerving in and out of its lane. They're probably texting, and then you pay extra close attention to that. But with a Tesla that's, you know, just driving itself perfectly in the center of its lane, seems to be doing totally fine, before suddenly just plowing into you or someone else, there's not a lot you can do to avoid that, other than maybe just avoiding all Teslas. Or, quick shout out, lane filtering and lane splitting, right? Making sure that you control where you are at all times. You know, you should never be sitting at the back of a line of cars just waiting to get hit, hoping someone doesn't pull out into you, hoping someone doesn't come slamming into you, right? You should be maintaining control over your environment as best as you possibly can. And I think that is one of the things I've definitely learned about riding in the Seattle Metro, is that, this is a car-heavy environment. You need to be maintaining control over your piece of it, right? You should not just be relying on the rules to protect you, because they will not. The rules are not there for you. They are there for lawyers. So Teslas, there's a lot of Teslas out here, and that's definitely something I've noticed. I've seen people using the self-driving features while just looking straight down at the ground, looking at their phone or whatever. What I didn't know until literally yesterday was that this is actually not just like, I knew it was kind of concerning, but it is now apparently confirmed to be like objectively dangerous to motorcyclists. And yet, for some reason, still allowed on the road, right? With specifically, with the marketing that Tesla has for their self-driving, right? I mean, sure, like adaptive cruise control is allowed on the road because the regulators allow the tech that it is on the road. But Teslas in particular have this gimmick of marketing their adaptive cruise control as self-driving, which causes more Tesla drivers to tell the car to drive and to look away, resulting in motorcyclist deaths. So that's one thing that I've definitely been aware of, and I'm now increasingly aware of here in the Seattle area. Another, rain. Obviously, a lot of rain. I think rain is really where Washington State sets itself apart from, let's say, California, for motorcyclists, right? Not the only way, but one of the really big ones, because in California you can be a fair weather rider, and that might mean you're riding most of the time. But in Washington, if you're a rider, a consistent, maybe commuter, or even an every weekend rider, if you're really planning to get out on the bike, you have to be comfortable with riding in the rain. It's really the only way. I think up here, if you're not willing to ride in the rain, you may still very well be a motorcyclist. I'm not taking your motorcyclist card away, but I kind of give you a little bit of side eye. Like, we want you to be willing to do that. I want you to feel safe doing that. I should have gone. This road, man. I'm just trying to cross. Rain is a big one. I've definitely, having ridden in drier places before, become a lot more comfortable with riding in the rain in the Seattle area in the past while here. I've really gone out. I've tried it out. I've not just ridden like when the road's a little slick. I mean, I ride in what is effectively, not torrential downpours, but I mean, really, I show up at home, or I show up wherever I'm going, sometimes drenched. I mean, to my undergarments, man. Like, I've been out in the rain plenty, and I've definitely become a lot more comfortable with it. It's not something that really scares me anymore. It has taught me how to ride a bit differently, maybe. So, it's taught me how to ride more defensively, with greater forethought, and with less lean angle, as well as with much smoother and calmer operation of the controls. Now notice I didn't necessarily say slower. I am slower in the rain, there's no doubt. But I'm not scared to, push the bike around a corner or push it up to the speeds that I need to be at in the rain. I'm just a lot more controlled about how I get there and what I do once I'm there. You leave more time for braking. You carefully accelerate, carefully decelerate. Those sorts of things. When you add lean angle, you add it calmly, a little bit at a time. When you do that, riding in the rain is not that scary. Honestly, the worst thing I've encountered with it is probably the visibility issues. I really don't like the visibility issues, not just for me, where, you know, unless my visor's perfectly clean and recently treated, it starts fogging up on me, but for drivers as well, for the other drivers out there, right? Like, I know that I'm basically completely invisible to people at that point. So definitely rain is another big Seattle area riding feature that I've come honestly to appreciate. I don't like being that guy, but I do kind of enjoy the fact that when it starts to rain, you see who's really committed to riding. You know what I mean? Like, there are lots of people that love to ride, and I respect the hell out of that. But when you show up, you know, on the road and you see, you know, it's pouring down rain, you see one or two other motorcyclists, you really can, like, give them the wave, give them the nod and say, hey man, good on you. It's great to see you out here today. So rain's definitely the second big one. You know, Teslas and rain. That's Seattle for you, isn't it? Let me go ahead and give you a couple more things. The lane splitting, lane filtering situation here is honestly, it's really interesting. Because, you know, this isn't California. And here, lane splitting, lane sharing, depending on how you define that, you know, lane splitting, lane filtering, this stuff is not legal. In fact, it's my understanding that it is explicitly illegal with a $120 fine if you get caught doing it. Just not the end of the world. Video's coming up soon. I recently got pulled over for filtering up to the front at a light by a cop in a completely unmarked, you know, black pickup truck, which I was not expecting, of course. Pulled over for him, and honestly, it was a decent experience. You know, the gentleman basically was like, look, dude, that's not legal. You can't do that here. And I was like, really? You know, like, and he was like, well, he didn't even let me off with like a formalized warning of any kind. He just basically chatted me up for a couple minutes, checked that I had my endorsement, and then let me go. It was not the worst experience I've ever had with police. So there's this weird gray area here right now where I don't think the community at large is remotely opposed to lane splitting. I mean, people are generally opposed to, like, if you're doing 160 plus in between cars on the freeway, that's what everyone thinks of when they think of lane splitting. But if you're literally just like filtering up to the front of a light, that's like entry level lane splitting, lane filtering, people are fine with this, man. Like, I get smiles, I get waves, I talk to people sometimes that, you know, I post some videos. I just posted one where I actually, you know, got an older gentleman to roll his window down. I was like, hey man, you know, your brake light's out. But before I even had him roll his window down, you know, he was giving me the peace symbol. It was honestly really sweet. People don't seem super opposed to it. It's not been a big issue. Really, honestly, the interaction that I'm talking about where the cop pulled me over and kind of like gave me a talking to, like, that was a decent interaction, and that was probably like the worst interaction I've had with anyone in the past year of lane splitting. I think there's enough Californians up here, there's enough motorcyclists that generally you're doing it all right, and people are just not going to be mad at you if that's the case. All right, so that's 3 things I've learned riding in the Seattle metro area. Obviously, there's a ton more than that, but those are 3 pretty big things. You know, lane splitting's a big deal. Riding in the rain is a big deal up here. And the whole like Tesla self-driving kind of tech driver situation is also a big deal up here. If I could add one more thing, I would just say, you know, this is a car-heavy culture up here in Seattle. I think if you want to ride in Seattle, you have to understand a lot of people are spending, you know, so much of their lives stuck inside the box, commuting an hour plus sometimes to and from work. And you have to be ready to understand that people don't get you, right? Like, this is not, it's also not LA, I think, where like the good weather brings bikes out all the time. maybe in the summer, but in the winter, if you're out in the winter, you know, out in the rain, you are big time in the minority, and you have to be ready to handle that. Like, you have to understand that you are 100% on your own. You know, you have to survive on the freeways, which are jam-packed sometimes. You have to survive in the city with inner city driving styles, right? You have to survive when it comes to the cops, who are handling, you know, enforcement of legislation that doesn't respect you. You know, doesn't let you legally lane split, for example. You know, that keeps you going roughly the same speed as surrounding traffic, and also, you know, they are more likely to look at you because you look fast and pull you over before they pull over the sedan that's actually going 20 miles faster than you, right? Like, you have to understand that, honest to God, sort of everyone is out to get you, at least like accidentally. And some people are out to get you on purpose. You know, in parts of Washington State, it's a little bit less, you know, West Coast Seattle vibes, and it's more Montana. And I mean, Montana has all sorts of folks, obviously, but it certainly does have the cowboy types who are more than happy to try and, you know, chase you down because you dared to not like cut them off, but just to like be faster than them in general. That's a riding style there, man. You know, we have those people. We have the lifted pickup truck folks. Plenty of them. I mean, you have them anywhere, but we have plenty, especially in, you know, the periphery of Seattle. You know, especially south and east of Seattle. There's a lot of the lifted pickup truck, Biden's not my president type folks. You know, no offense if that's you, man. If you like bikes and you're cool with bikes, I got no problem with it. But definitely seeing some dudes with that energy that were... This intersection sucks. Oh my God. I'm going to just go at some point here. I'm looking for like a safe spot because I'm also just talking right now. But I'm going to be here all day, aren't I? Yeah, you know, I've just definitely seen the stereotypical lifted pickup truck bro, or the Jeep folks. Love them too. Just posted that video the other day of the Jeep that chucked a rock at me because the dude had put like extra large tires with like huge grooves in the tires on, you know? So the holes, the sipes or whatever, are able to pick up like this giant rock and just throw it right at me as I'm like driving on the freeway. Like, thank God it only hit me in the arm, and the gear I was wearing meant that like I basically, like it hurt, but I was totally fine, you know? If that had like hit the bike even, honestly, I'm almost like happy it hit me and not the bike. But yeah, like, we've got the outdoorsy types, you know? And for better or worse, you know, some folks are more willing to be aggressive towards you as a motorcyclist. We've got plenty of folks out here who love to drive around pretending that they are, you know, they were only one small step away from being a Navy SEAL, man, and now they carry a handgun and threaten anyone who comes within 6 feet of them. We have those folks as well. And I think those are the folks that you have to really watch out for, because honestly, some of them are a bit deranged, but you do not have to listen to them. Like, let me be clear. I've seen a lot of YouTube comments saying stuff like, oh, I would never lane split because I wouldn't want to piss the wrong person off. I don't care if they're upset. My life doesn't revolve around the emotions of like that bad person. In fact, that's why I ride a super sport motorcycle and refuse to compromise, is because if I have to deal with that person at some point, I'm not getting into a shooting match, man. I don't care. I'm just gonna leave. What is this guy doing? And I have all of the right equipment to leave incredibly effectively. I've definitely encountered a few people on the roads that have just been more aggressive towards me, which I am very aware of that type of behavior when I'm on the bike. I want to make sure I'm not giving them the opportunity to put me into a bad situation, you know? So something like tailgating, I don't treat very kindly. When I deal with those people, I react strongly. I would not say that I try to react aggressively as much as I try to react in a manner which allows me to maintain control. Some people don't get this. That does sometimes mean putting a semi-aggressive front on, because you want to let this person know that if they continue to be aggressive with you, continue to escalate with you, you will not meet it kindly, right? Sometimes when someone's aggressive, they expect you to back down in the face of their aggression, and they actually use the aggression against you more when they know that it works. So it is my strategy to always meet aggression with strong counter force, whatever that means. And on a motorcycle, it obviously doesn't mean ramming them. It generally means showing them that they are not in control, that I can follow them, I can leave the situation whenever I want, I can avoid them at will by just like lane splitting away between other cars, you know, that I have a camera, that I, for all they know, very well could be armed. I might be. I think when you behave in that manner, you know, you show them that you're that person. What's up, dog? It does give them pause. And I think that helps tone down some of those situations. I've seen those folks behave aggressively in my direction, and then when I respond like that, they don't necessarily cool it, but they kind of start pointing their aggression elsewhere. You know, they're like, maybe not this guy. Like, maybe we'll do something else, which is a totally fine outcome for me. So yeah, I mean, what am I saying? I'm saying maybe the fourth thing about riding in the Seattle area is be aware of hillbillies with guns, because they are definitely out here too. And I think maybe that was the fifth thing. I think I also mentioned that in the winter, you are a minority and kind of everyone is out to get you. So there you go. I mean, that's 5 things that I think are kind of unique, specific to the Seattle area. Just to recap, if I can remember, that would be the Teslas. Riding in the rain. Yeah, there you go, folks. Teslas, riding in the rain. And I've forgotten the third one. What did I say? Post it in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. No, but okay. The hillbillies, riding by yourself with no one around to support you, not even the police. Yeah, Seattle's a great place to ride, though. It's really, really gorgeous. And it's gorgeous almost year-round. You know, I think there are places where you get more sun and less rain, but you get more heat. And here you get a really nice, kind of tame climate, just year-round, that is very rainy in the winter, but you just have to be comfortable with riding in the rain, and then this is not a problem. Yeah, if you're not riding up here, honestly, what are you doing? This is a great place to ride. I know I've just mentioned a bunch of things that are like kind of all negative, and I didn't really list like, oh, it's beautiful, it's, you know, you'll love to see Mount Rainier. But this is because it's like, I think it's really important to just focus on the bad first. Like, it's in this environment. I don't mean in life, I mean in this environment. You know, when you're talking about doing an activity that 100% can result in you being hurt, you need to try and get all the bad things checked off. And then, once they're checked off, you're feeling safe, enjoy the view. You know what I mean? So yeah, this has been Seattle Speed, signing off. Peace.